Ethics is not about staying out of trouble. It's never been about staying out of trouble. Ethics, here's the newsflash from the ancient world. Ethics is about creating strength. If you think that ethics is about staying out of trouble, then any other way of staying out of trouble can become a counterfeit of ethics, like extremely complicated accounting practices, right? That was a big Enron mistake. If you understand that ethics is about creating strength and that nothing else can create that form of strength. You know the word virtue? It comes from the Latin virtu. What does that mean? Strength. Prowess, what the hero has. There's a Greek word, arete, that can be translated as virtue, or arete can be translated as excellence. I gave a talk to a hospital group one time. They said, a guy came to me the day before the talk, came to my office at Notre Dame and said, I know you're going to be talking about ethics tomorrow. I got to warn you about something. We all get an ethics policy booklet when we're hired here, and we put it in a drawer, and we never mention it again. Excellence we talk about all the time. The marketplace demands it. And Professor, I got to tell you, if push comes to shove, if there's ever a conflict between excellence and ethics, we got to go with excellence. And I said, well, let me tell you something. The Greeks saw much more deeply than most people do these days. I told him about the word arete. I told him how it means excellence and ethics. The Greeks believed that at root, and so did Confucius, you cannot attain and sustain excellence without an ethical foundation. And aren't we learning that over and over and over again in the business news in the last year and a half? You can't. Emerson told us 150 years ago, unethical success is always self-destructive. We are seeing that played out over and over and over again. I went to a school, and you know, ethics is not just about the big things, it's about the little things. I went to a college in Virginia to give a talk on ethics. I was walking across campus with a popular professor who used to be one of my students years ago, Mark Nelson. Every student we passed said, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Good morning. I thought it was because I was with this really popular professor. Later in the day, I crossed campus by myself. Every student said, hey, how you doing? You know, good afternoon. I got back to his office, Professor Nelson's office, and I said, Mark, everybody I've passed on campus, every single person has spoken to me today. That's never happened on any college campus in America. What's the deal? And he said, well, at Hampton-Sydney, we have a rule. You must greet everyone you pass on campus. I said, what kind of a rule is that? He said, at Hampton-Sydney, we believe that etiquette is where ethics meets everyday life. I said, really? Say some more. We believe that morals and manners are two sides of the same coin. If we can't help our students get it right in the little things, they'll never be in a position to get it right in the big things. I said, that's a very wise perspective. That's Aristotle's perspective. You know what Aristotle said? Every time you make a decision, every time you act, you are never just doing, you are always becoming. We should be asking ourselves the question, in doing this, am I becoming the kind of person I want to be? Max Dupree, former head of Herman Miller Furniture, great furniture company. Max wrote a book in which he said, you know what? Every company, just like every person in that company, is in a constant state of becoming. Every policy we enact, every part of our strategy, every part of our operations, every hiring decision, we have to ask ourselves, in doing this, are we becoming the kind of place we want to be? Morals and manners. I'm glad I had this conversation. I got back to Notre Dame 4 days later. I got a phone call out of the blue. Professor Morris, this is Daniel Ruth. I'm a Chicago Sun-Times columnist. I'm doing an article on rudeness in America and wanted to talk to you about it. I hung up on him. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We had a very polite conversation. He asked me whether I thought there was a connection between rudeness in public places and the ethics problems we were facing in America. And I told him the Hampton-Sydney story. I said, exactly, exactly. Look at USA Today. If you get a chance, today's issue of USA Today, look at what it says about what people are eating on airplanes these days. How they're taking on board 2 personal pan pizzas and a large drink, and anything they don't finish, they put in the magazine compartment, you know, and under their seats, and they wipe their fingers, their greasy Kentucky Fried Chicken fingers on the seat cushions right before you sit down with your suit on. It's incredible, the obliviousness that envelops the culture. Help people understand little things always matter. Little things always matter. There's this movie. Did you ever see the movie, Kiefer Sutherland movie called Flatliners? Came out about 10 years ago. It's about medical students giving each other near-death experiences. One medical student, they kill him basically and resuscitate him so he can scientifically have a near-death experience. And he goes down the dark tunnel and he sees the bright light and he's resuscitated back to life. And later he's on the phone in some frantic conversation. And somebody says, no, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. And he said, don't you understand? Everything matters. I think that's Aristotle's perspective on our daily interactions with the people around us. Everything matters. You want to see commitment? You want to see sustainable excellence? Give people a great dose of goodness in your day-to-day interactions. You know what? If you surveyed all the world's cultures and said to yours and asked the question, is there any ethical imperative recognized by every major world civilization? The answer would be yes. And here it is. The one great moral rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Treat others the way you'd want to be treated. Now, it's stated in different ways in different cultures. Sometimes it's stated in the negative. Don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to you. Treat your neighbors good as if it were your own. There are many different ways of stating this, but these are the most common Western statements of this great golden rule. Treat other people the way you would want to treat them if you were in their position. Now, notice, it's not do unto others as they do unto you, right? Doesn't this get a kind of a guilty recognition from all of us? Don't we all tend to devolve into the mentality, you treat me well, I'll treat you well. You treat me badly, watch out, Buster. I mean, don't we do that? You know, we mirror the conduct we receive. We are reflectors. This is what I call the reciprocity. The human practice of reciprocity. Reciprocity it governs the world pretty much. People treat others the way they are treated. You know what's wrong with this as your personal moral philosophy? It makes you into a puppet. It lets other people call the shots. Other people determine how you act. The great moral philosophers have said, don't do that. You take the initiative. Don't treat other people the way they treat you. Treat other people the way you would want to be treated. It's not this, and it's not do unto others before they do unto you, which I call the first strike version. They call it nowadays preemption. Okay, this is too often the way people act. It's treat other people the way you would want to be treated.